Are you truly alive right now, or are you merely remembering what it was like to be alive? What if this entire experience, everything you see, feel, and believe, is not a present reality, but a meticulously constructed memory being replayed? This isn't a philosophical puzzle. It's a radical shift in perspective that changes everything you think you know. Imagine that your present life is less like a journey you are actively living, and more like an echo of a past existence, a fragmented replay of a previous state. Consider that your life is not a linear progression from birth to death, but a continuous cycle of experience, where what we perceive as the present is simply one facet of a much larger, ongoing event, and you, as consciousness, are simply cycling through the memories of that event. This is not just a thought experiment. It's the key to reclaiming the immense power you were always meant to possess. By understanding that your reality is a remembered state, you begin to see the ways in which you have been subtly limited, the ways in which the perceived rules of this game have been set. It's not just you individually, but as a collective, humanity has been programmed by societal narratives, values, and systems that serve as a shared memory framework, locking you into a limited perception of reality. These societal narratives, presented as truth, become the very constraints that we accept, and the first step to true liberation is realizing these limitations are based on remembered limitations, not innate ones. The very act of remembering who you truly are is the catalyst for immense personal change, which in turn can echo into a wider shift in our collective experience, allowing us to alter the shared memory framework and create a world free of the limitations that we have imposed upon ourselves. The first step to this transformation is understanding that you are not merely the persona you believe yourself to be, but a conscious awareness that is currently inhabiting a specific experience. This consciousness is not limited by your physical form or your current perception of self. You are the observer, the witness behind the mask of your personality. The perception of time, as a straight line from past to future, is also a feature of this remembered state, a construct that serves to limit your awareness of the larger reality in which you exist. In truth, the concepts of past, present, and future as distinct points in time might not be fundamental aspects of existence, but just artificial constructs within this remembered experience, each point in time just a facet of your infinite awareness. There is also the idea of your higher self, a more complete version of you that exists beyond the limitations of this remembered life, an original state of being untouched by the limitations of this persona, and by learning to connect with it, you can begin to expand your current experience. Your current limitations, your feelings of helplessness and lack of power, are a direct result of forgetting this true nature, a sort of veil of forgetfulness that has been placed over your inherent power. Therefore, the process of remembering is a process of shedding that veil. Now the real question: if your entire life is a memory, what does that actually mean for your everyday experiences? If we are not actively living, but merely re-experiencing a remembered life, are we passive participants, or do we, in fact, hold the power to alter these memories, to change our perception, to manipulate our reality? What if you could take conscious control of this memory and shape the experience directly? If your current existence is a replay of a previous state, what if the limitations you currently experience are only constructs of that replay, not fundamental truths? By remembering who you really are and tapping into that higher state of being, you can unlock dormant potential and access the power you were always meant to wield. The truth is, you're not trapped in this reality, you are simply remembering what it's like to experience it. And by remembering this, you also unlock the keys to change it. The methods to activate this potential and alter your memory are real, they are practical, and will be explored later. But first, let's uncover more of the mystery behind this profound revelation. If this idea of remembering rather than living feels radical, almost unbelievable, perhaps that's because we've forgotten the ancient echoes that have resonated through time. whispers of a truth that our modern world has obscured. For millennia, mystics, philosophers, and spiritual traditions have spoken of pre-existence, of a cyclical nature of life, and of a reality that is far more fluid than we tend to believe. These aren't just stories or myths. They are coded insights, glimpses into a deeper understanding of our true nature, our place in the grand scheme of things, and the nature of what it means to exist. They are the ancient maps that point back to the place we are remembering, and it's essential that we examine them. Consider the Vedic texts of ancient India, which describe the concept of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, not as a linear progression, but as an ongoing dance of consciousness, a continuous experience without beginning or end. It's not simply a chain of reincarnations, but a constant returning to the same source, again and again, which directly connects with our theme of remembering and re-experiencing, and also aligns with our idea of time not being linear. These texts speak of Maya, the illusion of the material world, a construct that obscures the underlying reality of pure consciousness, which we touched on previously, which suggests that what we experience as reality is merely a veil over the truth. The implications of this idea are immense, suggesting that what we call life is a carefully constructed experience, a remembered dream that consciousness is experiencing. The fact that these concepts are not new, but rather extremely old, starts to lend credence to the idea that we are on the precipice of remembering, not discovering something. In these ancient traditions, the concept of the soul, or higher self, is not just a theological notion, but an acknowledgement of our true nature, a being of pure consciousness beyond the limitations of our current form. Think of the Gnostic texts, which speak of the divine spark within each of us, a fragment of the infinite source, existing outside the constraints of time and space. They describe our material existence as a kind of forgetfulness, a state of being separated from this divine source, much like the forgetfulness we've been discussing. This higher self isn't some distant ideal. It is the very essence of who you are, the source of the memories we are currently recalling, and the wellspring of your dormant power, the unlimited creator that resides within you. When these texts speak of our limited state of awareness, it is not to condemn, but rather to point to our true potential. These ancient cultures understood that our physical form, the personality we identify with, are merely temporary vehicles for a far more expansive consciousness, akin to the idea that we are inhabiting a temporary memory of ourselves. The idea that this limited persona isn't who we truly are, and the idea of a more powerful, unlimited version of ourselves existing concurrently starts to shift the balance of power and begins to pull the viewer towards a more active state. The question becomes, if we all have this higher self, then why do we perceive the world as we do? And more importantly, how do we tap back into this dormant potential? The ancient understanding of cyclical time provides another piece of the puzzle, reinforcing the idea that we are not progressing linearly from birth to death, but rather experiencing different aspects of ourselves across the vast canvas of existence. The concept of eternal recurrence, found in various ancient texts, echoes the idea that time isn't a straight line, but a continuous loop, where we are forever revisiting and re-experiencing, thus further supporting our theme of remembering. It suggests that past, present, and future aren't distinct events, but rather different lenses through which the same consciousness experiences itself, much like we recall a memory from different angles. This idea directly contrasts with the linear view of time that our modern society upholds, and hints at an expanded view of self, existing across multiple experiences simultaneously. Perhaps, instead of thinking of our lives as a singular journey with a beginning and an end, we could think of them as threads in an infinite tapestry, each thread a different expression of the same underlying consciousness, the same limitless potential, and the same source of our remembered existence. This idea reframes our entire existence and starts to highlight the limitations of our common perception, making the need to tap back into our latent ability all the more urgent. The more we understand about how the ancients perceived reality, the more the limitations of our own society become starkly obvious. And this is where our next exploration begins. Consider how our modern societal narratives have, to a large extent, led us away from these core ancient understandings, programming us to accept a limited view of reality and our own potential. The very systems that govern our lives, from education to media, often perpetuate a sense of separation, limitation, and powerlessness. The idea that we are individual entities, disconnected from each other and from the source of our being, is a cornerstone of much of our modern thought. We are taught to compete, to compare ourselves to others, to seek validation from external sources. This way of thinking directly contrasts with the interconnectedness and shared consciousness that the ancients sought to explore. It's as if we've collectively agreed to forget our true nature, adopting a kind of societal amnesia, perpetuating a reality built on limitations, rather than recognizing the vast potential within each of us. In many ways, our modern world acts as a kind of anti-ancient wisdom system, subtly programming us to forget that we are not just living, but remembering what it's like to live, while simultaneously restricting our inherent ability to alter our experience. The question is, why would these systems be set up this way? And what can we do to break free from their grip? Now, let's turn our attention to the ways in which our modern society acts as a kind of collective forgetfulness, obscuring our true nature and our inherent potential. Look at the systems that shape our lives, the structures we have come to accept as normal and true. How much of your life is determined by rules and values you never chose, yet are taught from a young age as a sort of unquestionable truth? Our educational systems, for example, often focus on rote memorization and conformity, rather than fostering creativity, intuition, and critical thinking. These systems can subtly encourage us to accept authority without question, limiting our capacity to explore deeper truths. By presenting a very narrow version of reality as the only reality, our capacity for independent thought is diminished, and our ability to tap back into our latent potential is severely reduced. From a young age, we're told what to believe, what to value, what to strive for, thus creating a limited version of ourselves and severely constricting our ability to live as active creators of our experience, rather than passive recipients of it. Think about how, from our early years, we are told about the world and our place within it, how history is presented, how society should function, the value of money, or even the very nature of reality itself. All of these things are presented as a sort of default setting, which we are subtly programmed to accept. Consider the media that we consume on a daily basis. How often does it focus on negativity, fear, and division, rather than unity, empowerment, and hope? The constant stream of carefully crafted narratives further reinforces the idea that we are separate, that we are powerless, and that the world is a dangerous and chaotic place. This constant bombardment creates a sort of shared memory of limitation, a collective belief system that perpetuates the illusion of separation and reinforces the forgetting of our true nature. This continuous reinforcement creates a sort of feedback loop, where the more we consume narratives of limitation, the more we believe them, thus further solidifying a shared state of forgetfulness. This creates a kind of prison of perception, where the bars are made of beliefs, and the walls are built from shared narratives that we have passively accepted. This system isn't necessarily being maliciously designed. Many people involved may genuinely believe they are doing the right thing, yet the result is a collective forgetting and a reinforcement of our limited perception of reality. The question is, if these systems are acting as a form of collective forgetfulness, can we actively remember and change it? These shared belief systems, which we have been discussing, act as a kind of collective memory, further reinforcing that reality is not fixed, but is in fact a construct that we have all agreed upon. Think about the societal narratives around success, happiness, and security, how they create expectations that often lead to disappointment, frustration, and a feeling of never enough. These narratives, repeated and reinforced over time, become ingrained in our collective consciousness, creating a shared memory that shapes our individual experiences and limits our capacity to create a more empowering and fulfilling reality. We begin to believe that we can only be happy if we obtain some external thing, rather than understanding happiness as an innate part of ourselves, something that we already possess. The more that we internalize these beliefs, the more we create a world that reflects them, a world of endless striving, where the present is always lacking, and our attention is directed towards a future that never arrives. This further highlights the importance of reevaluating these systems and remembering the limitless potential that we, as a collective, have the ability to create. It really does beg the question, who or what is benefiting from these limited beliefs? This collective forgetfulness is further reinforced by our identification with the ego, that aspect of ourselves that seeks to define us as separate entities, as individuals with a specific history, personality, and identity. The ego thrives on external validation, constantly seeking approval from others and reinforcing a limited view of who we truly are. It builds narratives about our past and creates expectations for the future, keeping us trapped within the confines of our remembered persona, rather than connecting to the limitless potential of our higher self. The ego constantly seeks to define itself by external achievements, by the way it's viewed by others, by the validation it can extract from the world, and thus it's easily manipulated. This is especially true when those external sources are the same narratives that are seeking to control us. This ego-driven narrative, with all of its fears and insecurities, creates an obstacle to our process of remembering, keeping us tethered to a limited view of our potential. The process of recognizing these limitations and identifying how our ego acts as a sort of gatekeeper to our true self becomes a vital step in the path towards liberation and to remembering the power that we all possess. The question is, what is it about our societal frameworks and systems that keep us tethered to this ego-driven state? And how can we begin to shift it? The answer, in large part, lies in the power of fear. Fear is a powerful tool used to control and manipulate, keeping us tethered to our limitations and preventing us from remembering our true potential. By constantly bombarding us with narratives of scarcity, threat, and uncertainty, the systems that seek to maintain the status quo instill a deep-seated sense of fear that perpetuates a cycle of dependence and powerlessness, making us vulnerable to control, while simultaneously blocking us from our deeper awareness. This underlying fear, this feeling of being unsafe in the world, prevents us from questioning the narratives that we have been taught. It keeps us in a state of passive acceptance, further entrenching the forgetfulness and limiting our experience of reality. This fear acts as a sort of internal gatekeeper, preventing us from accessing our inherent power and from remembering who we truly are. By understanding the role that fear plays in maintaining this cycle, we can begin to dismantle it and reclaim our power. The question that naturally arises is, if fear is such a powerful tool, how do we transcend it? And more importantly, how do we start to activate our dormant ability to remember and directly manipulate our experiences? The answer, as you may have already begun to intuit, lies in the power of remembering and in consciously shifting our focus away from the limitations we've accepted. In the next part, we will be exploring specific techniques that will help you begin this process. But first, take a moment to consider the profound implications of what we've uncovered so far. So, if our society, in many ways, acts as a form of collective forgetfulness, obscuring our true nature and inherent potential, then how exactly is this forgetfulness maintained? Let's explore the architecture of this system, the specific methods that are used to keep us tethered to a limited view of ourselves and our reality. Consider the power of predictive programming, how the media, through films, television, and even music, subtly plants ideas and expectations into our subconscious mind, creating a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, a shared memory of what's possible, and what's not. These carefully crafted narratives subtly condition us to accept a certain version of reality and to behave in a way that aligns with the agendas of those who control them. It's not always overt or obvious, but it's a constant drip of information designed to shape our beliefs and keep us within certain boundaries. For example, think about how often dystopian scenarios are presented in entertainment, often with a theme of control and a lack of individual power. Or consider how success is often portrayed as a product of external validation, of material wealth, or of power over others. These ideas begin to take root, shaping our internal memory of how reality functions and further limiting our potential for personal agency. This subtle programming works so well because it's not presented as manipulation, but as entertainment, creating a powerful and insidious method for reinforcing societal narratives. The question we must ask is, how can we recognize this programming and begin to reclaim our power from it? Then there's the pervasive emotional manipulation, a method designed to keep us in a constant state of reactivity, preventing us from accessing our deeper awareness, our true capacity for critical thought. Fear, as we discussed previously, is the most powerful tool used to control and manipulate, keeping us tethered to our limitations. But it's not just fear, it's also the manipulation of our hopes, our desires, our sense of belonging. Consider how advertising constantly creates artificial needs, playing on our insecurities, telling us that we're not good enough unless we consume certain products or adhere to certain trends. Or consider how the news often creates a climate of division, pitting us against each other, further eroding our sense of collective unity. These are all deliberate tactics, designed to keep us in a state of constant distraction, preventing us from looking inward, and thus preventing us from recognizing our true potential. This constant emotional tug of war is designed to keep us trapped in a cycle of external validation, further distancing us from our inherent power. It's a meticulously designed strategy that preys on our deepest insecurities, and in doing so, prevents us from becoming aware of our true nature. So, how can we break free from these patterns of emotional manipulation? And is there a way to find clarity amidst the noise? The manipulation of time, as a concept, is another method employed to further maintain control, to keep us focused on the future or trapped in the past, preventing us from experiencing the power of the present moment. Consider how our society is structured around the idea of constant progress, always striving for something more, always chasing an elusive future. We're constantly told that our current situation is not good enough, that we need to work harder, achieve more, buy more, constantly pushing us towards a future that never truly arrives. This preoccupation with the future, or conversely a deep regret for the past, distracts us from the present moment, the only point where true power resides, the only moment where creation is even possible. This focus on linear time, on a sequence of events, keeps us trapped in a cycle of anticipation or regret, further distancing us from our true selves and our true potential. Time becomes a cage, a construct that prevents us from recognizing that the only reality that exists is right now. Our inherent power is directly related to our ability to exist in the now. But if our awareness is focused on a past or future that doesn't truly exist, then our power is dramatically diminished. The question we must now confront is, how do we break free from this linear perception of time? And how do we bring our full awareness into the present moment, the space where all potential resides? And then there's trauma, often the deepest and most insidious mechanism for reinforcing this forgetfulness. Intense emotional experiences can create deep-seated limiting beliefs, disconnecting us from our higher self, further locking us into the limitations of our remembered persona. Traumatic experiences can create a kind of internal split, a separation from the true self, leaving us vulnerable to external influences, constantly seeking validation, constantly trying to compensate for an internal wound. These experiences can create a sense of unworthiness, a feeling of being fundamentally broken, thus making it difficult to connect to our inherent potential and to our deeper awareness. This internal separation creates a reliance on societal norms for validation, a constant seeking of approval from external sources, instead of turning inward to our own inherent power. This over-reliance on external factors to define our self-worth keeps us trapped within the remembered persona, preventing us from recognizing the unlimited potential that resides within. By understanding this mechanism, we can start to address the trauma, to heal the wounds, and to begin to connect with our true selves. But if this process is so challenging, then what can we do to overcome these obstacles? And is there a path back to wholeness? The power to break free from these deeply entrenched patterns lies in the understanding of their mechanics. The moment you become consciously aware of how these methods work, the moment you recognize that these systems are designed to keep you limited, that is the moment that you begin to reclaim your power. Awareness is the key, the first step on the path to liberation. By understanding the techniques that are being used to control us, we begin to see them for what they truly are, and thus they lose their power over us. It's like seeing the magician's trick. The illusion disappears, and the reality behind the illusion becomes clear. By consciously choosing to disengage from these patterns of manipulation, by questioning the narratives that have been presented to us, and by bringing awareness to our own internal state, we can begin to free ourselves from the forgetfulness and reclaim our inherent power. This isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's a deep shift in perspective, a transformation of consciousness, and a direct path to regaining the potential we have always possessed. With that, we can begin to explore the deeper, more advanced techniques for accessing our higher self, and thus manipulating our remembered reality. If awareness is the key to breaking free from the systems of control, then what are the specific techniques that we can employ to access our higher self and manipulate our remembered reality? It's time to move from a passive understanding of these methods to actively engaging in our own personal transformation. We've already touched upon the importance of mindful awareness, the idea of bringing our focus into the present moment, but now we must delve into techniques that take us deeper. Consider the power of deep meditative states, where we move past the constant chatter of our minds and into the quiet space within, a space where we can access deeper insights and connect with our true selves. This process of deep meditation allows us to bypass the limitations of our conscious mind and to tap into the subconscious realm, the place where our true potential resides. By consistently practicing these techniques, we can learn to quiet the noise of the outside world and to listen to the subtle whispers of our intuition and of our higher self. This consistent practice is where real transformation begins. But what happens if we combine these deep meditative states with the power of intention? Then we explore focused visualization with emotional resonance, a powerful technique for creating our own remembered reality. It's not enough to simply visualize something. We need to bring our full emotional energy to the process, to feel the experience as if it's already happening, to fully embody our desired outcome. It's in this combination of clear intention and deep emotional resonance that we truly begin to shape our experience. We can utilize techniques such as creating mental images of our desired reality, filling them with vibrant colors and sensations, embodying them with the full range of our emotions, as if they are already present in our lives. It's not just about thinking about what we desire, it's about fully embodying it, about feeling it with every cell of our being. This focused approach amplifies the power of intention, allowing it to shape reality on an energetic level. By tapping into our emotional frequency, we begin to create a powerful magnetic field around our desires, drawing them into our experience. But how can we know that our visualization is actually working? How do we know that we are affecting our remembered reality? This is where reality testing comes into play, a method to discern the difference between our remembered reality and the original state of being, a way to actively seek the inconsistencies and the limitations, to find the cracks in the simulation. By constantly observing our immediate environment, by questioning the solidity of objects, by noticing subtle shifts in perception, we can start to see the underlying structure of the reality that we have agreed upon. It's about developing a heightened awareness of our surroundings, a sense of constant observation, noticing if things are static or if they shift in ways that our rational mind cannot explain. This practice can reveal the remembered nature of our experience, showing us that what we perceive as solid and unchanging is actually fluid and malleable. Consider, for example, if you are in a dream and you try to push your finger through a table, you instantly realize that this isn't how normal tables act. Thus you know that you are dreaming. The same method can be applied to reality, and the moment we begin to see the inconsistencies, we begin to access the underlying awareness of our remembered state. The question that naturally arises is, how do we apply this to our own individual experience? And are there other ways to test and alter our perceived reality? Dream work offers another powerful pathway for understanding the nature of our remembered reality. Our subconscious mind, the place where our deepest fears, desires, and beliefs are stored, communicates with us through the language of dreams. By becoming consciously aware of our dreams, by remembering the symbols and narratives, we can gain valuable insight into the patterns that shape our remembered reality. Practices like dream journaling and lucid dreaming can help us to tap into this source of inner wisdom and to begin to actively shape our subconscious beliefs. By engaging in lucid dreaming, where we become aware that we are in a dream, we can directly interact with our subconscious and begin to consciously alter the narratives that shape our waking life, thus further bridging the gap between dream and reality. This becomes yet another tool for us to manipulate our remembered state and to move beyond the limitations of the default settings. The act of consciously choosing to engage with our dreams creates a feedback loop, enhancing our ability to access the underlying reality that exists beyond the limitations of our perception. So, with these tools in hand, how do we move from simple remembering to consciously creating our own reality? As we delve deeper into these techniques, we begin to shift from merely remembering our true nature to actively creating our experience. As we reclaim our power and begin to understand that our reality is not fixed, but is rather a reflection of our own consciousness, we move from the state of passive recipient to that of active co-creator. This isn't just a theoretical concept. It's a fundamental shift in perspective, a transformation of our inner world that begins to directly affect our outer reality. Our remembering has now opened the doorway to our conscious creation. We have now moved from simply observing these limitations to actively taking steps to rewrite our experience. It's no longer enough to simply recognize that our reality is a construct. We must now actively engage in the process of shaping it, and thus stepping into our roles as conscious creators of our lives. But what is the key element that we must use to directly manipulate this reality? The key, as you may now be intuiting, lies in the power of our perception. The way that we interpret our experience, the lens through which we view the world, is far more powerful than our experience itself. We have been told that reality is an external thing, something that happens to us, and that we have no power over. Yet the moment that we recognize that reality is actually a reflection of our own inner world, that we are actually creating our experience through our beliefs, our perceptions, and our intentions, then we begin to unlock the potential to change. If we begin to perceive ourselves as powerful beings, capable of shaping our reality, then we begin to experience a world that reflects that belief. It's not about changing external circumstances, it's about changing our inner state, our beliefs, and our perception of the world. Reality shifts as our perception shifts. It is only through the lens of this remembered reality that our true power is revealed. But how can we be sure that we are actually changing our perception? What are the active steps we must take? Our beliefs, the deeply held assumptions about ourselves and the world, form the very foundation of our reality. The subconscious limitations that we have internalized through societal programming and personal experience are what keep us tethered to a limited view of ourselves. By actively choosing to rewrite these subconscious limitations, by consciously choosing to believe in our own inherent potential, we begin to shape a new reality that reflects those beliefs. It's not enough to simply say that we believe in our power. We must actively embody those beliefs. We must feel them in every cell of our being. This process often involves identifying the limiting beliefs that are holding us back, questioning their validity, and replacing them with empowering beliefs that align with our desired reality. As we actively rewrite our subconscious narratives, our external experience will begin to shift, reflecting our new internal world. It's a process of deep transformation, but it's the only way to truly step into our role as the conscious creators that we truly are. The question is, where do we start? The present moment, the now, is the only point of power for creation. We have previously discussed how time is a construct, how it keeps us trapped in the past or the future, and thus keeps us away from the very moment where we can actually act. It is only in the now that we can focus our awareness, direct our intention, and shift our perception of reality. When we are present, we become conscious of the limitations of our programmed beliefs and are free to rewrite them. This isn't simply a passive observation. It's an active engagement with the totality of our awareness, bringing our intention into the present moment and actively choosing the narratives we wish to experience. It is only here that we can truly access our power to shift our reality. By bringing our full awareness to the present, we break the illusion of time and connect our intention and action to an immediate result. The present moment isn't just a concept, it's the gateway to our true power and the only place where we can truly create the reality we wish to experience. But what happens as we begin to step into this power? What challenges do we face? As more and more of us begin to remember our true nature, as more and more of us begin to awaken to our inherent power, the controllers of this remembered reality will begin to take notice. They are aware of this awakening. They have planned for this eventuality, and they will enact counter-strategies to maintain control. This isn't a suggestion of a nefarious external entity. This is a recognition that the systems and structures that seek to control our experience will begin to adapt to our evolving awareness. This introduction of a counterforce is designed to elevate the stakes and to highlight the urgency of our transformation. This isn't a suggestion that we should be fearful, but rather to emphasize the importance of perseverance and to highlight the very real obstacles that we may face along our journey of remembering. The more that we step into our power, the more resistance we may encounter from the systems that benefit from our forgetfulness. So, what form does this resistance take? And how can we transcend it? The path of remembering and of reclaiming our power is not without its challenges. There will be moments of doubt, fear, and confusion, times when the conditioning of society and our own internal limitations will attempt to pull us back into the illusion of separation and powerlessness. We will have to battle our own fears, our own insecurities, the programming that is trying to keep us within its predetermined boundaries. There will be moments when the path forward seems impossible, when the desire to return to our familiar forgetfulness is strong. This is a natural response, not something to be afraid of, but rather to be expected. These obstacles should be viewed as tests, opportunities to refine our awareness and to reaffirm our commitment to remembering our true potential. The key is to maintain our focus, to trust in our own inner guidance, and to persevere through the challenges, knowing that these experiences are part of our own personal evolution. With that in mind, how do we overcome these challenges? And what is the most important tool we can use along the way? The single most important tool for overcoming these challenges is unwavering commitment to our own path of remembering. It is through this commitment that we cultivate the strength to persevere through the inevitable moments of doubt and fear, by constantly choosing to focus on our potential, by continually engaging in practices that elevate our awareness, by actively choosing to embody our true nature. It is in this process that we cultivate the ability to navigate the challenges and to transcend the obstacles that may arise. This isn't a process that we simply arrive at. It's an ongoing journey, one that requires dedication, perseverance, and above all else, an unwavering belief in our own inherent potential. We have been prepared, we have been given the tools, and we are more than equipped to face any challenge, so long as we remain focused, so long as we maintain our commitment. And with that, it's time to take the next step and to move from understanding to action and to consciously choose our own destiny. In the next section, we will begin to explore some of the practical steps that you can take right now to begin the journey of remembering and of actively creating your own reality. So, as we begin to truly grasp the nature of this remembered experience, it's crucial to understand that it operates as a construct, a carefully crafted framework with its own set of rules. This isn't a random, chaotic experience. It's a highly structured system designed to maintain a specific perception of reality, a world where limitations and powerlessness seem to be the natural state of affairs. Consider the concept of linear time, how we perceive the past as a fixed and unchangeable record, the future as an unknown and uncertain event, and the present as a fleeting moment that is constantly slipping away. This perception of time is not a fundamental truth, but a feature of this remembered experience, a mechanism that creates the illusion of separation, of a fixed history that defines our present and dictates our future. It keeps us in a state of constant striving, constantly chasing an elusive future, or regretting a past that can never be changed. This sense of separation, a feeling that we are disconnected from our true selves, from our potential, from each other, is another key feature of this remembered reality. And it's not a natural state of being, but a meticulously designed construct that reinforces our feeling of limited existence. We perceive the past as gone, the future as not here, and the present as a fleeting moment, further solidifying our feeling of separation from our full power. This, of course, is not the truth, and is simply a feature of our remembering. Then we have the concept of cause and effect, another central tenet of the remembered reality, which is presented to us as an absolute law, a fundamental truth that governs all of our experiences. Yet, it acts as another mechanism that limits our true potential. The belief that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, while seemingly logical, actually traps us in a cycle of reactivity, where we are constantly responding to external stimuli, rather than actively creating our own experience. When we believe that external events are the cause of our experience, we become passive recipients of reality, constantly reacting to circumstances rather than acting as the creators of them. This belief system reinforces our feeling of powerlessness, of being controlled by forces outside of our control. For example, the idea that if you do X, then Y will happen, creates an extremely limiting framework in which we can only react to what is presented to us. This, as you are now beginning to see, is not how it actually works, but rather a rule within the game, designed to keep us in a state of limited potential, and is another facet of our imposed forgetfulness. This is not how reality actually functions. The truth is far more complex and far more malleable. How different would our lives be if we understood that our perceptions of cause and effect were nothing more than a rule in this game of remembering? Our physical senses, our primary interface with this remembered experience, also play a crucial role in maintaining our perception of limitation. Our eyes, our ears, our skin, all act as filters, carefully selecting a very narrow range of the total spectrum of existence, thus presenting us with a severely limited version of reality. Our eyes only perceive a small fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum, our ears only a very limited range of sound, and our senses, in general, can only perceive a limited aspect of the totality of existence. These filters act to obscure the deeper, more expansive nature of reality, preventing us from perceiving the vast potential that lies just beyond the range of our normal perception. These physical senses are like a pair of binoculars, only allowing us to see a very narrow field of vision, whilst obscuring everything that is beyond their scope. This is not a fault of our physical body, but rather another element of the remembered experience, a method of limiting our perception and of keeping us tethered to a particular version of reality. It is through these self-imposed restrictions that we are kept in the dark about the scope of our own potential. What if we could begin to manipulate or bypass these filters? What if the limitations we perceive were, in fact, self-imposed? And so, this brings us to the central point. The feeling of powerlessness, of being limited, is not an inherent part of who we are, but rather a consequence of this remembered experience. It's a self-imposed forgetfulness, a result of our belief in the rules, the limitations, the constraints that have been placed upon us by this construct. We have forgotten our true nature, we have forgotten our true potential, and have instead accepted the limitations of our remembered persona as the ultimate truth. We believe we need external validation, permission, or resources to pursue our desires, creating an invisible cage that keeps us trapped within its confines. We believe we are limited by our past, or that we are at the mercy of external events. All of these beliefs, these deeply ingrained limitations, are just memories from this construct. They are not fundamental truths, but rather illusions that can be transcended. The moment that you recognize that these beliefs are not your own, that they are simply a part of this remembered experience, is the moment that you can begin to reclaim your power and to rewrite your own reality. Is it possible that our current limitations are nothing more than a story that we have been telling ourselves? Now that we understand the nature of the remembered experience, let's explore the specific techniques employed to manipulate our perception within this framework, methods designed to create a sense of powerlessness and to keep us from remembering our true nature. One of the most effective methods is the use of frequencies, subtle vibrations that can influence our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior without our conscious awareness. These frequencies can be embedded in music, in television, in the very environment around us, subtly shaping our perception of reality and creating a sense of unease and anxiety that keeps us tethered to the remembered state. Think about the subtle hum of technology, the low vibration of city life, the constant bombardment of electromagnetic radiation. All of these, to some extent, are contributing to our state of powerlessness and are actively suppressing our ability to access our inner potential. These are not random occurrences. They are deliberate methods used to maintain a specific energetic field around us, a field that reinforces the limitations of this remembered reality. The constant exposure to these subtle frequencies creates an environment of subtle unease, preventing us from accessing our natural state of calm and clarity. What if our environment is not neutral, but is, in fact, an active participant in the manipulation of our consciousness? Then we have the constant barrage of subliminal messaging, subtle cues that are designed to bypass our conscious awareness and to implant specific beliefs and desires into our subconscious mind. These messages, often hidden in plain sight, can take many forms, from visual imagery to auditory cues, constantly shaping our beliefs and our behaviors without our even realizing it. For example, consider the constant advertising campaigns that subtly suggest that we are not good enough and that we need to buy more products or services to feel complete. These subliminal messages slowly erode our sense of inner peace and further solidify our belief that our worth is dependent on something outside of ourselves. They reinforce the narrative that we are lacking something, that we are not whole unless we have acquired a specific set of external factors. This constant bombardment of subliminal messages creates a deep-seated sense of unease, preventing us from truly connecting with our inherent potential, our internal sense of worth. It further distracts us from looking within, and it keeps us chasing external validation, further reinforcing our state of forgetfulness. How can we become aware of these subtle cues, and how can we begin to counteract their influence? Sensory overload is another method employed to keep us disempowered, to overwhelm our senses, and prevent us from processing information clearly, thus creating a state of constant distraction, where it's almost impossible to focus our attention to connect with our inner selves. The constant flow of information from the media, from the internet, from the countless screens that surround us, overwhelms our senses, preventing us from accessing our natural state of clarity and inner peace. Our attention is constantly being pulled in multiple directions, from the constant updates, the notifications, the advertisements, all designed to capture our attention and prevent us from focusing inward, preventing us from accessing the true power of our being. This deliberate sensory overload creates a kind of mental fog, a constant state of agitation that prevents us from truly connecting with our inner wisdom. Our awareness is constantly being pulled outward, preventing us from experiencing the peace and tranquility that resides within. This is a deliberate manipulation, a carefully crafted method for keeping us distracted and for preventing us from accessing our true potential. What are the underlying motives behind this constant bombardment? Emotional triggers also play a crucial role in maintaining control within this remembered experience. The systems that control this reality know how to manipulate our emotions, how to trigger specific responses that keep us bound to its narrative. Fear, anxiety, anger, sadness. These emotions, when triggered, can completely bypass our rational mind and throw us into a state of reactivity, a constant state of emotional entanglement. Consider how fear is used in the news, how a constant barrage of crises are presented to keep us on edge, to keep us in a state of anxiety. Or think about how social media often triggers anger and outrage, creating a sense of division and keeping us at odds with each other. These emotional triggers are designed to keep us in a state of reactivity, where our emotions are driving our behaviors, where our focus is on reacting to external events instead of consciously creating our own experience. It's a subtle form of manipulation, designed to exploit our natural human tendencies and keep us trapped within the patterns of this remembered reality. This is a direct manipulation of our emotional state, designed to keep us in a perpetual state of reactivity, and it's a key element in maintaining control over our experience. What if we could learn to disengage from these emotional triggers? What would we be capable of if we were free from the constant pull of our emotions? The focus on external validation and consumption is another powerful tool that is used to keep us trapped in this cycle of forgetfulness, constantly seeking validation from external sources, rather than connecting with our own inherent worth, which causes us to chase external metrics that are ultimately meaningless. The constant push to buy more things, to acquire more possessions, to achieve a certain social status, keeps us locked in a cycle of wanting, a constant striving for something that we believe will make us whole. We become consumed by external metrics, seeking validation from material goods, social media likes, or recognition from others, rather than connecting with the true source of our own worth, which is our innate consciousness. This externalized sense of worth prevents us from looking inward, preventing us from recognizing our own inherent potential, and reinforces the feeling of powerlessness, of not being good enough as we are. This creates a culture of constant consumption, of endless striving, and is designed to keep us distracted from the inner work that would lead to our own liberation. Is this need for external validation, in fact, a deliberate design? Finally, the idea that we are just a limited personality, an ego, keeps us separate from our true potential. The focus on the ego, on our individual identity, keeps us tethered to a limited perception of self, and further separates us from the awareness of our higher self. We identify with our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and we forget that these are just aspects of our remembered persona, and not the essence of who we truly are. This limited perception of self makes us easy to control, easy to manipulate, easy to influence. The ego is the perfect tool for manipulation. It's constantly seeking validation, approval, and control, constantly defending its own position, and as such, it is easily exploited. This focus on the ego creates a sense of separation from our true selves, from our own potential, and from the interconnectedness of all beings. As long as we identify with this limited persona, we are vulnerable to the manipulations of the remembered reality. But what if we could transcend this limited view of self? What will we discover beyond the confines of our ego? As we begin to understand the methods used to manipulate our perception, we also begin to see the path to reclaiming our power. The first step is recognizing that we are not passive observers, but active creators of our own experiences. This is not simply a philosophical concept, but a fundamental shift in perspective, and a realization that everything we experience is a reflection of our own consciousness. The moment that we stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead start asking, "What am I creating?" is the moment that we begin to reclaim cause and step into our power as the conscious creators that we are. This realization is absolutely crucial. You are not at the mercy of external circumstances. You are not a passive recipient of reality, but the active creator of it. This is the first step in breaking the pattern of forgetfulness. The power was always inside of you. Are you ready to take it back? This brings us to the power of awareness. It's the foundation of reclaiming our power, and it is in conscious observation that we find the key to unlocking our full potential. When we become aware of our thought patterns, our emotional triggers, and our behavioral habits, we begin to see the mechanisms of manipulation in action. Simply by observing these patterns, without judgment, we begin to create a space of separation from them and become free to choose a different response. This is the first step in changing them, and in stepping outside of the limited, remembered persona. And in doing so, we can begin to see them for what they truly are, simply patterns, not inherent truths about our reality. This conscious observation is the key to freedom. This awareness is not a destination, it's an ongoing practice, a continuous process of self-discovery, but it is the necessary first step, and from here we can begin to actively make conscious choices. Are you ready to watch the show without getting entangled in the performance? Intention is the next key in this process. The power of focused intention is the method by which we can direct our energy and shape our reality. Where we focus our attention and where we direct our intention is where our energy flows, and this focused intention can be used to shift our perception, to change our reality, and to overcome the limitations that have been placed on us. It is not enough to simply desire something. We must actively direct our energy towards it. We must focus our attention on the desired outcome, and in doing so, we are effectively creating a blueprint for our future reality. This focused intention acts as a powerful force, drawing the desired reality into our experience, thus shifting our awareness from the forgetfulness to conscious creation. This is not a passive process. It's an active engagement with our own potential and requires a conscious effort to direct our energy and our focus. This means choosing to focus on the possibilities rather than the limitations, choosing to visualize the desired outcome and feel the emotional resonance of that outcome as if it were already here. Are you ready to begin consciously directing your intention? Emotional detachment is also a critical tool in breaking free from the control systems of this remembered reality. As we discussed, emotions are used as triggers and are carefully designed to keep us in a state of reactivity. But by becoming detached from our emotional responses, by witnessing them as an observer, we can begin to choose our response rather than being controlled by them. This doesn't mean that we should suppress our emotions, but rather that we should witness them without judgment, that we allow them to move through us, rather than identifying with them as a fixed state of being. In doing so, we can become free from the control of our emotions and regain our power to choose how we respond to the world and to the challenges that present themselves. It's the ability to step back from the drama, to observe the emotions without being pulled into their narrative. It's the ability to choose a different response rather than reacting from a place of conditioned behavior. And in this practice, we become free from the emotional manipulations of this remembered experience. Can you feel the power that emerges when you choose your response instead of being controlled by it? Now, let's explore the practicalities of rewriting our personal narratives and our memories. And in so doing, we will move from conceptual understanding into the action of consciously shaping our remembered reality. We have the ability to revisit our past experiences and to change our interpretation of them, and therefore change the emotional weight that they carry with us. By consciously choosing to see our past experiences from a different perspective, by reframing the narratives, we can alter the way that they affect our present experience. This is not about denying the past, but about understanding that our past, like our future, is simply another memory in this ongoing stream of awareness, and that our experiences are only as real as our interpretation of them. This gives us the power to rewrite our personal narratives, to create a new understanding of ourselves, and to break free from the limitations of our past memories. By revisiting our experiences, reframing the negative ones, and choosing to focus on the lessons learned, we begin to actively create a more empowering narrative, and thus begin to alter our remembered reality. Are you ready to rewrite your history and claim a more empowered past? The concept of future scripting is another powerful tool that we can use to consciously create our desired reality within the remembered experience. We can use visualization, emotional resonance, and affirmation to actively create the future that we want to experience. We can create the emotional blueprint for our desired outcome, and we can reinforce this with positive affirmation. This is not a passive process. It's an active engagement with our potential, a conscious effort to direct our energy towards the creation of the reality that we choose. This requires a clear understanding of what we want, a focused intention on achieving it, and a deep emotional resonance with the feeling of it already being present. This is not about escaping the present moment, but about actively shaping the future, about taking ownership of our reality. By consciously scripting our future, by fully embodying the experience, we are effectively creating the pathway for it to manifest in our remembered experience, thus breaking the belief that the future is predetermined. Are you ready to actively design the future that you want to experience? Then, we must also explore the power of self-forgiveness and compassion, as these are essential in reclaiming our power and in moving past the limitations of our own self-judgment, and are a necessary element for truly embracing our own potential. Understanding that our past mistakes are simply memories from a limited state, and that we were doing the best we could with the information available to us, is a crucial aspect of our transformation. By forgiving ourselves for our past actions, by letting go of the burden of self-judgment, we create the space for growth, for healing, and for accessing our true potential. This isn't about ignoring our past, but it is about accepting it, learning from it, and moving forward without the weight of unnecessary guilt or shame. The journey of remembering is a journey of self-acceptance, a process of embracing all aspects of ourselves, including the limitations and the mistakes. It's in this act of self-compassion that we begin to reclaim our power, to acknowledge our experience, and to use it to propel us forward. Are you ready to forgive yourself and to fully embrace your own potential? And as we continue to rewrite our inner narrative, we also begin to manipulate our environment, because the changes that we enact internally will manifest as changes in the external world. Our inner state of being is a direct reflection of our outer experience. As we shift our perception, as we change our behavior, as we embody our own potential, we begin to see a shift in the reactions that we receive from others and in the opportunities that present themselves. This is a direct consequence of our internal transformation, a clear example that our outer world is a direct reflection of our inner state. This means that by choosing our inner world, we are, at the same time, choosing the outer experiences that we manifest. These aren't random occurrences. They are direct results of the shifts that we have made in our own awareness. As we change ourselves, the world around us will change to mirror that, thus confirming that our inner world is the primary cause of our external experiences. Are you ready to change the world by changing yourself? The transition that we must make now is a move from focusing on our limitations to recognizing our own limitless potential, to understand that in remembering our power, we can transcend any and all perceived restrictions. As we begin to connect with our higher self, as we begin to access our innate potential, we realize that there are no limitations that cannot be overcome, that all that was keeping us bound was a story that we have been telling ourselves. We have the power to create anything, to experience anything, to transcend any and all limitations that have been imposed on us. This isn't just a theoretical concept, it's a fundamental shift in perception, a realization that our potential is truly limitless. Our ability to imagine, to visualize, to create, is the key to unlocking a reality beyond any limitations. This is not simply about escaping the constraints of our remembered reality. It's about actively creating a new one that is not governed by the old rules. Are you ready to step into a reality of infinite potential? This leads us to a deeper understanding of non-duality. The sense of separation, the idea of a fixed self, are merely illusions created by the limited perception of our remembered experience. Our individual personas are just a collection of memories that are being experienced by a single, universal consciousness, and it is in understanding this that we can transcend our feeling of separation and step into the true nature of our being. We are not separate from each other. We are not separate from the source of creation. We are all aspects of the same single consciousness, experiencing itself in countless different forms. It is within this understanding that we realize that the limitations we perceive are just a construct, a veil that obscures our true nature, and that in removing this veil, we can access the limitless potential that has always been ours. This is not just a philosophical concept, it is a fundamental shift in our perspective, a realization that all of reality is interconnected, and that all of our limitations are ultimately self-imposed. Are you ready to see beyond the illusion of separation and to embrace your true infinite nature? Our potential for a collective awakening can be a catalyst for a major shift in our shared reality, and that individual transformations have a ripple effect on the whole of the collective. As more and more of us begin to remember our true nature, as we begin to step into our inherent power, we create a ripple effect that impacts our shared experience, and that when a critical mass of individuals choose to awaken and to rewrite their narratives, we will create a collective shift in consciousness that will change our world. The conscious rewriting of the societal narrative, the recognition that all of us are interconnected, is a key step towards creating a world where potential, not limitations, is the focus, and our shared reality begins to reflect this truth. This isn't a far-off dream, but a very real potential, and it is the collective power of our individual transformations that will create a change on a planetary scale. Are you ready to be a part of this collective transformation? And so, as we conclude this section, it's essential to emphasize that the inherent power, the limitless potential, is available to all who choose to remember, and that what we have explored so far is merely the first step, that we have the tools, the understanding, and the potential to actively create a reality that reflects our highest ideals. We are no longer simply recalling a life, we are actively creating one. We have shifted from a state of passivity to a state of action, from forgetfulness to remembering. This is the bridge that connects our understanding to action. It is the moment where we embody the potential. It is the point where we move from simply understanding to actively creating the life we choose, and it sets the stage for the practical, actionable advice that is about to come, ensuring that you are primed to fully integrate these concepts. Are you ready to finally embody the unlimited potential that has always been yours? Now, let's delve into the mechanism by which our memories actually become the blueprints for our reality, understanding that they are not passive recordings of the past, but active templates that constantly shape our present and our future experience. Consider this. the way we choose to remember an experience, and the emotional charge that we attach to that memory directly affects how that experience is recreated in our present moment. If we recall a past event with a feeling of joy and gratitude, we are, in effect, creating a template for future experiences that carry the same emotional vibration. Conversely, if we recall a past experience with anger or resentment, we are, in effect, creating a template for future experiences that carry that same negative emotional charge. This means that our past is not a fixed, unchangeable entity, but a malleable set of templates that we can actively rewrite by consciously choosing to shift our focus and intention. This is how our remembering directly becomes our reality creation. The interpretation we hold and the emotions we allow are the mechanisms by which the past continuously shapes the present, and therefore the future. Are you willing to accept that your memories aren't static and can be changed? And so, within these memories, we carry what can be best described as emotional imprints, which are essentially energy patterns that become deeply embedded within our subconscious mind and act as a kind of program that runs automatically in the background, constantly influencing our thoughts, our feelings, and our behavior. These imprints are created by the emotional intensity of our past experiences, especially our traumatic ones, and they act as filters through which we perceive all of our present and future experiences. A childhood experience, for example, where you felt rejected or unloved, might create an emotional imprint of unworthiness, and as such, it may then influence all of your future relationships, causing you to attract experiences that mirror this feeling of unworthiness. The same can be said for any intense emotion that you have carried into your remembering. However, the good news is that we have the ability to consciously rewrite these emotional imprints by consciously choosing to focus our attention and directing our intention on creating new, more empowering patterns. This allows us to break free from the limitations of our past emotional experiences and to create a future that is aligned with our highest potential. Are you starting to see how the emotional charge of the past has a direct impact on the reality you are now experiencing? These emotional imprints then become a part of our subconscious programming, a set of deeply ingrained beliefs and assumptions that operate outside of our conscious awareness, constantly influencing our behavior and perpetuating our experience within the remembered reality. These programs are formed by a multitude of factors, from our childhood experiences to the cultural narratives that we have absorbed throughout our lives, as they act as scripts that run automatically, constantly directing our choices, our behaviors, and our overall experience of the world. Think about how many times you have heard a phrase like, "Life is hard," or "You have to work hard to succeed." These common phrases are deeply embedded into our subconscious mind, creating a belief system that limits our ability to achieve success without great effort. Or think about the limiting beliefs around money, around relationships, around health. These are all just subconscious programs that are running in the background of our minds that keep us in a perpetual state of forgetfulness. These subconscious programs are not fixed, however, and we can consciously identify them. We can consciously choose to rewrite them, and we can create new programs that are aligned with our desired reality. How would your life change if you could delete these old, limiting programs and install new ones of your choosing? Therefore, it becomes clear that by employing techniques of self-awareness and by making conscious choices, we can, in fact, begin to identify and reprogram these limiting subconscious beliefs and finally begin to step into our role as the active creators of our experience. We can start by consciously observing our thoughts, our feelings, and our reactions without judgment, simply watching them as an observer and becoming aware of the underlying belief systems that are driving these patterns. Then, we can begin to actively challenge these limiting beliefs, and we can choose to replace them with new, more empowering ones. For example, if you have an underlying belief that you are not good enough, you can begin to challenge that belief by consciously choosing to focus on your strengths, your talents, and your positive qualities, or you can choose to use affirmations to reinforce the new belief in your subconscious. Combining all of the techniques that we have explored so far, visualization, intention setting, emotional resonance, all become powerful tools for actively reprogramming the subconscious, thus creating a pathway to true self-transformation and a tangible way to begin actively shaping the reality we want to experience. What specific belief system will you begin to question today? And so, we must now move towards practical methods that empower us to actively intervene in the remembered reality by exploring advanced visualization techniques that go beyond the simple mental images to engage all of our senses, thus creating a much more compelling and impactful blueprint for our desired future. Instead of just picturing a scenario in your mind, try to also engage your other senses. Consider what it would feel like, what it would smell like, what it would sound like. By immersing yourself fully in the experience, you are creating a far more powerful template in your subconscious mind, one that is far more likely to manifest in your outer world. For example, if you are visualizing success in your career, don't just see yourself in the office. Feel the excitement of success. Hear the applause, smell the fresh coffee, and experience the joy of accomplishment. And in doing so, you will create a much more powerful and impactful visualization that will have a direct influence on your experience. The more vivid and detailed the visualization, and the more emotionally resonant it is, the more potent it becomes as a tool for conscious reality creation. Are you ready to create visualizations so real that they blur the line with your current reality? We can also explore the concept of reality rehearsal, a powerful technique that allows us to actively shift our memories of the future. And in doing so, we can create a kind of mental rehearsal that programs our subconscious to make our desired outcome a reality. By creating a detailed mental simulation of a future event, and by experiencing that event as if it were already happening, we can create a strong emotional imprint in our subconscious mind. And by doing this, we can influence the likelihood of that event occurring in our external world. For example, if you have an important presentation coming up, you can create a mental rehearsal of that presentation, visualizing yourself confidently delivering it, feeling the sense of accomplishment, and experiencing the positive feedback from your audience. The more detailed and emotionally resonant the rehearsal, the more likely it is to become a reality in your experience. This is not just wishful thinking. This is a conscious method for influencing the probability of future events. What specific future experience will you rehearse today? Furthermore, the use of affirmations, consciously chosen statements, can become a method of actively rewriting our subconscious programs. By repeating these statements with intention and with a deep emotional conviction, we can begin to create new pathways in our subconscious mind, reinforcing our chosen reality. These affirmations are not simply positive statements, but powerful tools for reshaping our beliefs, for directing our energy, and for aligning ourselves with our desired outcome. When we consistently affirm our desired reality, we are, in effect, creating a kind of mental feedback loop that reinforces our chosen narrative. For example, instead of saying, "I am not good enough," you can consciously choose to say, "I am worthy, I am capable, I am loved." And by repeating these affirmations with conviction and emotional intensity, you begin to overwrite the negative programs that have been limiting you, creating new pathways of thought, new beliefs about yourself, and thus creating a new reality. What specific affirmations will you begin to utilize today? To solidify these new memories, we can then implement reality anchoring techniques by using physical objects, sensations, and symbolic reminders to reinforce our desired reality, thus providing a tangible connection to our new memories. This method effectively links our inner world to the external one by using tangible anchors that act as triggers and remind us of the new reality that we are creating. These anchors can take many forms. They can be an object that you associate with a specific feeling. It can be a symbol that represents a goal, or it can be a physical sensation that reminds you of a desired state of being. For example, if you are working on feeling more confident, you might choose to wear a specific piece of jewelry that makes you feel strong. Or you might choose a specific scent that reminds you of your power. Or you can use a daily physical activity that reminds you of your inner potential. These anchors act as a physical reminder of the new reality that you are creating, constantly reinforcing your intention and supporting your journey towards self-mastery. What physical anchors can you use to remind yourself of your desired state of being? Now, let us revisit the dream metaphor from our earlier discussions, because it's by understanding that we are, in fact, dreaming this experience that we can truly begin to break free from the limitations of this remembered reality. Just as we can become lucid in a dream, aware that we are dreaming, we can also become lucid in this dream of life, aware that we are creating our experience, that we are not just passive recipients of reality. Once we reach this point, we can begin to consciously change the dream. We can choose to shift the narrative, to overcome any limitation, and to create a reality that reflects our highest potential. The dream is not a fixed reality, it's a malleable experience, shaped by our consciousness and by our choices. By understanding that our lives are akin to a dream, we can begin to step out of the limited narratives of our remembered reality, and we can begin to consciously create a new one and a new set of rules. Can you feel yourself becoming lucid within the dream of your life? In order to do this, we must develop emotional mastery, as it is the key to navigating the challenges of the remembered reality, because it's by understanding our emotions and by choosing our response that we can begin to step into our true power. Rather than being controlled by our emotions, we can begin to see them as tools that we can use to navigate our experience, and by learning to observe our emotions without judgment, we can begin to choose our response, rather than reacting automatically. For example, if you feel anger rising within you, instead of acting out in anger, you can choose to step back from the emotion, observe it without judgment, and consciously choose a different response. This is not about suppressing our emotions, but about mastering them, about using them as a form of guidance and a tool for navigating our journey. By consciously choosing our emotional state, we are choosing our experience, and we are shifting from a state of powerlessness to a state of self-mastery. What emotion will you choose to master today? As we develop our capacity to consciously shape our reality, we begin to notice synchronicity more frequently, as it is an indication of our growing ability to manipulate the dream, acting as a sign that we are aligning with our higher self and our true potential. These seemingly coincidental events are not random occurrences, but rather reflections of our internal state and our increasingly powerful ability to consciously shape our experiences. When we begin to experience synchronicity more frequently, it means that our inner world is increasingly aligning with our outer experience, creating a kind of feedback loop that reinforces our chosen reality. For example, you might start seeing repeating numbers like 11, or you might encounter specific people or situations that perfectly align with your intentions. These events are not random, they are signs that you are aligning with the flow of the universe, and that your ability to create your reality is increasing. What signs of synchronicity are you noticing in your life? And finally, the act of forgiveness and compassion is essential for truly breaking free from the limitations of this dream. As we understand that all of us are interconnected, and that our own personal healing is also an act of healing for the whole shared reality. This forgiveness is not just for ourselves, but for others as well, because by understanding that all of us are simply dreaming, and that we are all playing our parts within this remembered experience, we can choose to let go of the past and create new narratives based on empathy and understanding. When we forgive those who we perceive as having wronged us, we are also forgiving ourselves, and we are letting go of the negative emotional imprints that bind us to the limited narratives of this reality. This is not about condoning harmful behavior, but it's about releasing the negative energy that binds us to the past, and it is about choosing to move forward with a heart full of compassion. What act of forgiveness will you embody today? Now, let's shift our attention from individual transformation to the collective impact of our remembering, understanding that the changes we make within ourselves are not limited to our personal experience, but that they ripple outwards to influence the shared societal memory. Each individual who chooses to awaken and to reclaim their power contributes to a shift in collective consciousness, which in turn has a profound impact on our shared experience. As more and more individuals begin to remember their true potential, we are creating a wave of change that will eventually transform our entire society, and that the collective experience is being shaped by the individual and by every individual choice that is made. This means that our own personal journey of awakening has a much wider impact than we might realize, as it contributes to the collective shift in consciousness. How does your personal journey influence the collective remembering? We must also explore the power of shared intention. By understanding that our collective power can magnify our individual ability to shape reality, and as such, we can choose to consciously create new narratives that benefit all of humanity. When groups of individuals focus their attention on a shared intention, they are creating a powerful force for change, and they are amplifying the impact of their reality creation techniques. This collective focus creates a kind of energetic field that enhances the manifestation of the desired outcome, and that amplifies our intentions into the shared reality. For example, groups of people who meditate together for peace or who visualize a positive future for humanity are creating an energetic ripple that spreads outwards and influences the collective experience. This power is available to all of us. How will you use the power of collective intention today? And finally, we must look to creating communities of remembering, because these serve as support networks for those who are actively choosing to wake up and to reclaim their power. And these communities become a space where we can share our experiences, our insights, and our challenges with others who are on the same journey. When we connect with like-minded individuals, we find a sense of belonging, of support, and of shared purpose, making the journey of awakening much easier and much more enjoyable. These communities serve as a kind of energetic amplifier, reinforcing our intentions and creating a powerful force for collective transformation. Together, we can inspire each other, we can learn from each other, and we can support each other on our paths towards remembering our true potential. Where will you find your community of remembering? Ultimately, it becomes clear that the choice to remember is a powerful act of rebellion against the limitations of the remembered reality, as a choice to actively create our experience. And this collective action has the potential to transform not only our own experience, but our shared world, because our conscious intention and our shared vision for a better future can act as the catalyst for a radical transformation in the collective experience. The choice to remember is not just a personal journey, it's a collective revolution, a conscious act of choosing to create a world based on love, compassion, and unity, and that by working together, we can create a reality that is aligned with our highest potential, a reality where we all recognize our true infinite power. Are you ready to join the rebellion of remembering? So let's dive deeper into this fundamental concept, understanding that what we perceive as our lived experience is not a fixed reality, but a complex construct, intricately woven from the threads of our remembered perceptions, and that this construct is far less solid than we've been led to believe. What if the external world that we interact with every day is not actually out there, but is instead a reflection of our internal interpretation of it? What if that interpretation is based entirely on the memories we carry and the focus we place upon them? Consider this. Two individuals can witness the very same event, and yet experience it in wildly different ways, based upon their individual emotional state and their deeply rooted belief system. One person might see an opportunity for growth and expansion, while another might see a confirmation of their negative biases. This shows us that there isn't a singular, objective external reality that we can all point to. Instead, our experiences are simply a result of our own internal interpretations, and that the very foundation of our perception is built upon our memories. It reveals that the power to construct our experiences lies not in the external world, but within us, and that this is a power that we can begin to consciously utilize in order to create a new construct that is more aligned with our desires, our hopes, and our highest potential. What if the world you perceive is simply a reflection of the world you have constructed inside? Now, let's consider another layer of this remembered construct, the concept of linear time, the idea that we move from one moment to the next in a neat, sequential order. What if this idea of time is not, in fact, an objective reality, but rather a feature of the remembered construct itself? What if the past, the present, and the future are all happening simultaneously, as facets of a single, unified experience, and that the illusion of time is simply what gives our experiences a sense of linearity? This is a major shift in perspective that challenges our conventional understanding of time, and it hints at a reality that exists beyond our current perception. Think about how the perception of time can be warped in altered states of consciousness, how a moment can stretch into an eternity, or how an hour can pass in what seems like only a few minutes. These experiences, where time itself seems to bend and break, reveal that what we perceive as reality is nothing more than a construct, and that the very idea of time is one of its fundamental components. This means that the past is not something that is behind us, but a collection of experiences that we can actively access, and in some ways alter, and this realization opens up a whole new dimension of possibility, and reveals that even the constraints of time itself are not as fixed as we might have thought. Can you feel the walls of linear time beginning to crumble? Let's go even deeper and challenge the idea that our memories are fixed, unchangeable records of the past, understanding that they are malleable, constantly changing templates that we can actively rewrite. What if our past is not set in stone, but is actually a fluid, dynamic experience that we can consciously access and actively alter? By reinterpreting our past, by changing the emotional tone of it and the context within which we experience it, we can effectively create a new future for ourselves, and in doing so, change the very direction of our lives. Science has shown us that memory is often unreliable, that it is easily influenced by our emotional state, and that the way we interpret our experiences is what shapes our future expectations, and that if we change that interpretation, we change the expectation. This fundamentally changes the conventional view that the past is fixed and immutable, and reinforces the concept that reality is indeed malleable, and that we have far more influence over it than we previously thought. What if the past you hold is just a story you've been telling yourself? And finally, let's examine the most fundamental component of this remembered construct, the idea of self. What if the self that we currently perceive ourselves to be is simply another layer of the remembered construct? What if our current identity is not our true nature, but simply a collection of experiences, beliefs, and perceptions that have all been filtered through the forgetfulness? This is perhaps the most central revelation of this entire discussion, that our current persona is not who we really are, but a series of memories, and that our core understanding of self is directly related to this central pattern of remembering a different state of being. We must recognize that a focus on external validation and a limited persona keeps us trapped within this remembered construct, and that our true potential is beyond the limited identity that we have been clinging to. We must understand that we are not the limited persona that we believe ourselves to be, but a vast, infinite consciousness, experiencing a fragmented dream of life, and that this dream can be changed. Are you ready to let go of the self you think you are? Now, let's explore the most significant shift in understanding that by becoming consciously aware of the remembered construct, we can actively begin to shape it, and that our intention, our focus, has a direct impact on the experience that we are having within that construct. What if what we focus on is literally what we create? This is the turning point in our narrative that connects all of our previous ideas together, and that reinforces all the practical advice from previous sections and sets the stage for new techniques. Think about how individuals who focus on negativity constantly tend to manifest more negativity into their lives, while individuals who focus on positivity tend to attract more positive outcomes. This shows us that our focus is the key to shaping the experience, and that we are not passive recipients of reality, but its active co-creators. When we shift our attention towards our desires, our hopes, and our dreams, we are effectively programming our remembered reality to reflect that vision. This understanding transforms us from being victims of circumstance into powerful, conscious creators of our experience. How will you choose to focus your attention today? What if we could actively rewrite the rules of our remembered reality, transcending the limitations that we once perceived as fixed, as if the very laws of this experience were merely a set of agreements that we can choose to bypass once we understand their mechanics? This idea is radical, but essential for us to begin to take conscious control of our remembered reality, and to demonstrate that the limitations we have accepted are not real, they are only illusions. Consider the ways that individuals have transcended their perceived physical limitations, or overcome seemingly impossible circumstances. Individuals who have healed themselves from terminal diseases, or who have achieved remarkable feats of strength. These examples reveal that the laws of reality are not as rigid as we might think, and that our perceived limitations are often self-imposed. By understanding the mechanics of the remembered construct, we can choose to bypass its limitations and begin to create a reality that is limited only by the scope of our imagination. What rules will you choose to rewrite today? Now, let us explore the concept of emotional alchemy, the technique of transmuting lower frequency emotions into higher frequency ones, as this understanding reinforces the concept that the reality construct is directly related to our emotional state. What if negative emotions are not something we should try to suppress or avoid, but instead, what if they are actually a powerful catalyst for change and a key to accessing our true creative potential? When we consciously recognize a negative emotion and we embrace it rather than suppressing it, we can begin to transmute it through focused intention into a more positive, empowering emotion. This is not about denying our feelings, but about understanding them, about processing them, and about consciously choosing our emotional state. Consider how you can recognize when you are feeling an emotion like anger, and how you can step back from that feeling and use that energy to fuel your creativity and to power your manifestations, thus allowing you to turn even the most challenging circumstances into a source of power and growth. What emotional state will you choose to transmute today? This conscious shaping of our reality is not a one-time event. It's a continuous process of remembering and creation, and it requires constant self-awareness and active participation, as this is not something we can do once and then forget about it, but an active practice that we must continue to engage in if we want to stay aligned with our true potential. Think about how important it is for you to take responsibility for your own state of being, and how your personal experience is the direct result of your choices, and that the power to create your reality is always within you. When we approach this process with dedication, with passion, and with a deep sense of self-awareness, we create a strong foundation for ongoing transformation, and we learn to actively navigate the remembered construct, rather than simply being swept along by it. What daily practices will you implement to actively shape your remembered reality? Now, let's consider the challenges of navigating a shared reality, where not everyone is on the same path of remembering, where many are still operating within the forgetfulness, and where the very fabric of our shared experience is built on a set of collective beliefs, many of which can be quite limiting. What if not everyone is waking up at the same time? And what if their beliefs and their perceptions act as a challenge to our new insights, our new understandings, and our new ways of being? It's important to recognize that not everyone is ready to step out of the forgetfulness, and that we will often encounter resistance from those who are still operating from a limited perspective. These interactions can be challenging, but they can also serve as a kind of training ground for our new understanding, as they give us opportunities to practice compassion, to set healthy boundaries, and to remain focused on our own personal path. How can you navigate interactions with those who are still in the forgetfulness, while remaining focused on your own path of remembering? Let us explore the implications of collective belief on our individual journey of remembering, understanding that our individual choices ripple outwards to the shared reality, creating a sense of collective responsibility, as this journey is not only a personal experience, but also a shared one. What if by taking responsibility for our own experience, we are, in fact, influencing the whole collective experience, and as such, it's important for us to remain conscious and actively participate, not only for our own sake, but for the sake of everyone else. Think about how negative collective beliefs can hinder individual progress, and how positive collective beliefs can uplift the collective consciousness. And this awareness creates a sense of shared purpose, as we realize that our individual journeys are not separate from the journey of all of humanity. This understanding shifts our focus from the individual towards the collective, and it highlights the importance of our actions and our intentions as we begin to see ourselves as part of a much larger whole. How can you consciously act to influence the collective remembering today? With this in mind, let's explore the concept of conscious co-creation as a method for shaping the remembered reality into a more positive and uplifting experience for all of those involved, by aligning our intentions with others and by working together towards a common goal. What if the combined power of our collective intention could create rapid positive shifts in the shared experience? And what if we could consciously choose to work together to amplify our creative abilities and to elevate not only ourselves, but everyone else along with us? Think about how communities working together have manifested a shared intention, and how this has created powerful shifts in the collective reality, and how this gives us the opportunity to consciously align with others and to create a positive future for humanity together. This reveals that the power to create a better world lies not just in the hands of the individual, but in the collective intention of those who choose to awaken. How will you begin to engage with conscious co-creation? Finally, we must understand the importance of focusing on our own journey while engaging with the collective, as it's crucial that we recognize that we are not responsible for waking everyone else up, but that leading by example has an exponential impact on the shared reality, and that our primary focus must remain on our own empowerment. What if it's not our place to change the beliefs of others, but rather our responsibility to focus on our own personal empowerment, and that this action can act as a powerful catalyst for positive change in both ourselves and the world around us? The most effective way to influence the collective consciousness is not by trying to change the minds of others, but by embodying the change that we want to see in the world and to inspire others through our actions. This allows us to let go of the need to control others and instead focus on our own journey, trusting that our actions will naturally ripple outwards and create positive change in the shared reality. How will you focus on your own journey of remembering today? And so, let's conclude this section by reiterating that the remembering process is a journey of continuous self-discovery, and that as we grow, our understanding of reality continues to evolve, and that the ideas that we have explored today are not a final destination, but a step along the path. What if this understanding is not a simple process of grasping a new idea, but an ongoing journey of integrating that understanding and embodying our own true potential, and that the power we are seeking is not something that we achieve, but a state of being that we cultivate through continuous self-awareness and conscious intention. This understanding helps us to remain humble, to stay open to new possibilities, and to embrace the ongoing process of transformation as we continue to explore the vastness of our own potential and the nature of reality itself. How will you embrace this journey of continuous self-discovery? We must also recognize that our current lived experience can be a powerful tool for self-awareness and a method for gaining an even deeper understanding of this process, as every moment, both positive and negative, can be used as a source of growth and an opportunity to learn. What if it's important for us to engage fully in our current state of being, rather than focusing only on transcending it, and that there are no wasted experiences, as even the most challenging moments can offer valuable lessons and can guide us towards a greater understanding of our own inner landscape? This realization bridges the gap between our current experiences and our new perspectives, thus creating a seamless pathway to embracing our true potential and to fully embrace all of the moments within our remembered reality. How will you use your current lived experience as a tool for greater understanding? With this understanding in mind, the process of remembering is not about escaping our reality, but about engaging with it with awareness, with love, and with compassion, and that our goal is not to leave our experience, but rather to understand it and to transform it. What if we could accept all of the aspects of our present experience, both the positive and the negative, and through that acceptance, gain a greater ability to change it, and understand that the process of transformation is not about running away, but about embracing the present moment, and in doing so, we create a space for transformation to occur. This new understanding shifts our focus from the future towards the present, as we learn to find power and potential in every moment, and to recognize that the journey of remembering is not about transcending our experience, but about fully embracing it. How will you begin to embrace the power of the present moment today? Therefore, let this section be a call to action. Let it be an encouragement to continue to embrace your power and to consciously apply the understanding that you have gained in this video, and to take those next steps towards fully embodying your true potential. As we continue this journey, we will explore more practical techniques, more profound insights, and more methods for transforming our experience. But for now, let us simply embrace the power that we carry within and actively choose to create a life that is aligned with our highest potential. Are you ready to take the next step on your path of remembering? Now, let's move towards integrating this understanding of remembering into your everyday experience, transforming it from a concept into a practical way of being by embracing the power of mindful observation. What if by simply observing your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions without judgment, you could begin to create a separation between your limited persona and your true self, allowing you to engage more consciously with your remembered reality? Consider this. You're in a situation where you feel anger rising within you, and instead of reacting immediately, you take a moment to observe that anger, to notice the physical sensations it creates, to understand the story that's playing out in your mind, and to become aware of the triggers, instead of being swept away by it. You can recognize that you are not that anger, but simply the observer of it. This ability to observe without judgment shifts us from being a passive recipient of our remembered experience into a powerful, active co-creator of it. And it's a constant practice and a technique you can apply to any situation in order to create a deeper understanding of yourself and your connection with your true nature. Building on this, let's explore the practice of emotional regulation as a method for navigating the challenges of this remembered reality, allowing us to choose our emotional responses rather than simply reacting from a place of ingrained patterns. What if by becoming aware of your emotional patterns, you could begin to consciously choose a higher frequency emotional state, and thus actively transform your emotional experience from a place of limitation to one of empowerment? Imagine you are feeling the pang of sadness or the sting of fear, And instead of letting these emotions overwhelm you, you choose to breathe deeply, to visualize a state of peace and calm, to focus your intention on a more empowering feeling, and to actively shift your experience. This understanding gives you the power to actively manage your emotional states and to consciously create an internal environment that reflects the reality that you want to experience, and to move towards that experience with power and intention. This isn't about suppressing difficult emotions, it's about transmuting them and consciously choosing your emotional reality. It is important to remember that the practice of gratitude is a key component in actively shaping your remembered experience, as it shifts your focus from lack and limitation to abundance and appreciation, creating a powerful feedback loop of positive experiences. What if by consciously shifting your focus towards what you appreciate, you could begin to attract even more of what you want into your life, thus making your gratitude a practice of reality creation? Imagine you are taking a moment to actively recognize and appreciate the beauty that exists within your life, from the simple things like the taste of fresh food to the more profound aspects like the love of your family or the opportunity to learn. And in doing so, you are not only feeling gratitude for the present moment, but you are actively programming your remembered construct to reflect more of those experiences, thus creating a positive feedback loop. This conscious act of gratitude allows you to amplify the positivity in your life, thus making it a fundamental component in shaping your reality and moving into a state of abundance. And finally, let's introduce the practice of reality journaling as a method for tracking your progress and observing the direct impact of your remembering practices on your external experience, and as a way to create an objective record of your journey, and to use that knowledge to more deeply understand your own patterns and abilities. What if by consciously tracking your internal shifts and their corresponding changes in the external environment, you could reinforce your understanding of your creative potential, thus accelerating your journey of transformation? Imagine you are recording your experiences each day, noting any shifts in your perceptions, the emotional states you encountered, and the external events that you experience. And in doing so, you can begin to observe a direct correlation between your internal world and the external reality you create, thus proving to yourself the power that you hold and the potential that exists within. This ability to track your experiences makes your journey of remembering tangible, and it helps you to fine-tune your ability to consciously shape your reality and to understand the power of the practice that you have engaged in. Let's now transition into exploring the concept of transcending the illusion of limitation, understanding that many of the limitations we perceive are nothing more than a construct of our remembered reality, and that by challenging these, we begin to dismantle the very framework of that illusion. What if many of the limitations that you currently accept as truths are simply stories you've been telling yourself, or limitations you've accepted from societal conditioning that have no basis in objective reality, and that you are, in fact, capable of much more than you might currently believe? Consider the countless stories of individuals who have overcome seemingly impossible obstacles, who have achieved remarkable feats, despite the limitations that were placed upon them, revealing that what we consider limitations are often more a reflection of our beliefs than of our abilities. This new understanding helps us to recognize the self-imposed barriers that we have accepted as real, and begins the process of removing them and reclaiming the inherent potential that we all carry. Building on this, let's explore the power of radical acceptance as a method for bypassing our own resistance to our desired reality and for effortlessly manifesting our intentions by removing any internal conflict with our current situation. What if, by accepting your current state completely and without reservation, you could actually remove the very resistance that's holding you back and open up a pathway to more rapid and effortless manifestation? Think about how often we resist our current situation, wishing things were different or focusing on what we lack. and how this resistance only serves to reinforce those very limitations, and to hold us back from the very thing that we are trying to create, and how by simply accepting your reality without judgment, you can actually open up the energetic space for change to naturally occur. This understanding helps us to understand that the first step towards transformation is not fighting against our current reality, but accepting it, and in doing so, we remove the resistance and create a clear path forward. Let's further explore this concept by using the technique of paradoxical intention as a method for overcoming obstacles and for moving forward with more ease by embracing the very things that we resist. What if by intentionally embracing your fears, your limitations, and all of the things you tend to avoid, you could remove their very power over you and accelerate your journey of remembering by embracing the very thing you have been pushing away? Consider how we often try to suppress our negative emotions or avoid our uncomfortable situations, and how by actively engaging with these, we can begin to unravel the deeper patterns that keep us stuck, thus liberating ourselves from those patterns. This helps us understand that the things we most often resist are the very things that hold the keys to our transformation, and by engaging with those things, we can transcend those limitations and move forward with more ease. And finally, let us introduce the element of playfulness as a way to engage with this remembered reality with joy, with creativity, and with a sense of detachment, making the journey of remembering not one of struggle, but one of exploration, fun, and limitless potential. What if the journey of remembering wasn't supposed to be hard or serious or challenging, but could instead be approached with the same joy and the same sense of wonder that you might have experienced as a child, and that this playfulness could help you to disengage from the rigid constructs of your limited persona? Think about how children engage with the world, how they see everything with a sense of curiosity, how they express themselves creatively, and how they approach every new experience with joy. And imagine if you could recapture that sense of wonder and allow it to infuse every moment of your life, that this playfulness would not only bring more joy, but also open up your creative flow and allow for a more effortless experience of creation. This concept helps us to remember that the journey of remembering isn't just about growth, but it's also about joy and about embracing the limitless creative potential that we all carry within. Now let's embrace the fact that this journey of remembering is not a destination, it's an ongoing process of growth, of expansion, and of continuous self-discovery, that there is no end point, but that the journey itself is the ultimate reward, and we will continue to evolve and expand as our understanding of reality continues to shift. What if the process of remembering was more akin to a spiral rather than a linear path, where you continue to revisit the same lessons on increasingly deeper levels as your awareness expands, and that this journey of transformation never truly ends, but is a constant unfolding into new states of being? This concept helps us to see that growth is not the achievement of a fixed state of perfection, but a constant evolution into new possibilities, and it reminds us that we must embrace the journey in all its complexity and all its beauty. Building upon this idea, let's explore the power of self-inquiry as a method for continuously deepening your understanding of this remembered reality and your place within it, by challenging your core assumptions and exploring your deeply held beliefs, thus creating a never-ending cycle of exploration, understanding, and transformation. What if by actively questioning your most fundamental beliefs, you could gain access to an even deeper level of understanding, and that the process of self-inquiry was essential for peeling away the layers of conditioning and revealing your true nature? Consider questions that challenge the nature of your identity, your perceptions, and your place in the world. By exploring the deeper patterns of your inner world, you can create a more profound understanding of your potential, thus unlocking the ability to consciously shape your reality. This understanding shows us that self-discovery is a continuous process, and that the most valuable questions are often the ones that challenge our deepest assumptions. It's important to remember that throughout this journey, the most essential ingredient is self-compassion, that this process of remembering is not always linear, and there will be challenges and setbacks that must be embraced and used as opportunities for growth. What if the most important thing you can do for yourself on this journey is to embrace self-kindness, is to recognize that you are doing your best, and that any mistakes are simply opportunities for learning and not evidence of your lack? Consider how often we tend to judge ourselves, how we push ourselves to achieve, and how this constant self-criticism can undermine our journey of growth, and how by simply extending kindness and understanding to yourself, you can create a safe container for transformation to occur and to gently embrace the process of growth. This reinforces the importance of patience and gentleness, and it allows us to move forward with greater love and compassion. Finally, let us remember the importance of trusting our own inner guidance system as we navigate the uncertainties of this remembered reality, and that we all carry a powerful intuitive intelligence that can guide us along the right path, and that we have all of the answers that we need within us. What if the deepest wisdom, the clearest guidance, and the most profound understanding wasn't something to be found outside of you, but was an inner voice that is always there, patiently awaiting your attention, ready to lead you toward your most authentic expression of self? Consider how often we tend to seek guidance from external sources instead of turning inwards, and how by learning to trust your own inner wisdom, you can tap into a deep well of intuition and guidance that will help you navigate your journey with more clarity, more confidence, and more authenticity. This reinforces the idea that you have everything that you need within you, that you are never truly alone, and that you are guided every step of the way. And so, let's shift now towards understanding the collective impact of our individual remembering journeys, as it's essential that we recognize that each individual shift contributes to the overall awakening of the collective consciousness, and that in taking responsibility for ourselves, we create the space for a more empowered and loving future for everyone. What if by focusing on our own growth, we were simultaneously contributing to the growth of the entire collective, as if our individual actions created ripples that expanded outward to impact everyone else? Think about how your acts of kindness, of compassion, and of conscious creation ripple outwards and positively influence all of those around you, and how by taking personal responsibility for your journey, you also contribute to the journey of all of humanity, thus seeing yourself as a crucial part of a much larger and more interconnected whole. This understanding shifts our focus from the individual towards the collective, highlighting the importance of every single choice and every single action. Let's now explore the power of conscious collaboration as a method for accelerating this shift in the remembered reality, by working together with shared intention and collective action, as we begin to understand that by uniting our creative power, we can create a world that reflects our highest aspirations. What if the combined power of our focused intentions could create shifts in the collective reality far more rapidly than we could achieve alone, and that by working together, we could amplify the collective impact of our creative abilities? Think about all the examples of communities who have come together with a shared purpose and achieved incredible results, and how by choosing to align with others, we can amplify the positive changes that we want to see in the world, and use our collective abilities to achieve what we couldn't achieve individually. This helps us understand that we are not alone in this journey, and that by working together, we can accelerate this shift for everyone. We must remember that as you embrace this journey of remembering, you become a Waishwa for others by simply embodying these principles in your own life and inspiring those around you to step into their own potential, as that is how we can collectively awaken and rise together. What if the most effective way to inspire others wasn't through preaching or telling them what to believe, but by simply living as an authentic expression of your true self, and allowing your life to become an example of the potential that exists within all of us. Consider the impact that your authentic expression has on the people around you, and how, by living with love, with compassion, and with consciousness, you can inspire others to do the same and create a positive ripple effect throughout the shared reality. This understanding helps us to see that our power comes from our authenticity, and the most effective way to lead others is to simply be our truest selves. Let this entire section be a call to embrace your role as a conscious co-creator of your remembered reality, and to take an active step, and to apply all that we've discussed in your life, and to move forward with love, with compassion, and with a deep sense of responsibility for the power that you carry within you. What if now is the time to fully integrate this understanding into your daily actions, and to move beyond the theoretical and begin to embody your own creative abilities, and that by choosing to act from your highest potential, you can contribute to the creation of a more positive, more loving, and more abundant world for all beings. This understanding helps us to transition from simply knowing to actively doing, and it reinforces that we must consciously choose to act in a way that is aligned with our true potential, and that it is our responsibility to create a world that reflects our highest values. Are you ready to take on that responsibility and step into that power? So, let's be absolutely clear. You are not living. You are remembering being alive. This is not a metaphor. It's the foundational truth upon which our entire understanding of reality must now rest. Every experience, every perception, every emotion is a memory unfolding in the present moment. This singular revelation shifts the very ground of your existence, moving you from a passive observer in a world that is happening to you, into the active creator of a world that is being recalled by you. It is the moment of awakening, the culmination of our journey together, and it is essential that you feel this truth resonating through every cell of your being. It's the key that unlocks the door to your true potential, the moment we move from a state of passive existence into active creation. The implications of this are truly immense, and it's absolutely essential that this revelation fully land in your consciousness. And now, consider this. The linear timeline you perceive is not a fixed path, but simply a construct of this remembered state. Your past, present, and future are all accessible to you simultaneously in this present moment, waiting for you to engage with them. This understanding allows us to see that time is not a river that flows in one direction, but an ocean that surrounds you, where all moments coexist, and where you can move between them with the power of your intention. Consider your past experiences, not as something that is behind you, but as another facet of your current being and the potential future you want to experience, not as something you must wait for, but a reality that you can access now. You aren't limited to a linear path. You are navigating an ocean of experiences. This ability to move beyond the limitations of a linear timeline gives you the ability to shape both what was, what is, and what could be. Furthermore, this forgetfulness that we have explored is simply an illusion within this remembered experience, a veil that has been placed upon your true vision. You possess all the tools, all the knowledge, and all the power to wake up from this dream, and to begin creating your own authentic reality. Much like a lucid dreamer who recognizes the dream for what it is, and begins to take control of the narrative, you too can realize the nature of this remembered experience, and begin to consciously shape every aspect of it. This dream state has never held any power over you other than what you've unconsciously given it. It's time to reclaim that power, to awaken from this illusion and step into the full potential of your being. Remember, in a lucid dream, the laws of physics become mere suggestions. The same is true of your waking life. And finally, this understanding shifts you from a passive recipient of reality to an active co-creator, a master weaver of your own experience. The power was never outside of you. It was within you all along, and the journey we have been on has been one of remembering what was already there. It is time to embrace this truth, to understand the vast potential that lies within, and to use this understanding to shape a more empowering, more loving, and more abundant reality. It is the ultimate act of empowerment, the realization that you are not a victim of circumstance, but the author of your own narrative. You are the wave, consciously becoming aware that you are also the ocean. The significance of this, remembering, transcends the individual, for we are collectively experiencing a shared state of forgetfulness, a veil that has been placed over humanity to keep us from our true potential and to maintain the status quo of powerlessness and limitation. Your own personal journey of awakening is also contributing to the collective liberation of humanity, and that each conscious choice, each act of love, each moment of awareness helps to dissolve this veil and to usher in a new paradigm of unity, of compassion, and of shared purpose. This is not just your journey, it's the journey of us all, as we move towards a new level of collective consciousness. This forgetfulness has been actively perpetuated by systems of control, designed to keep us disconnected from our own inherent power, and to ensure that we remain compliant within systems of limitation, by limiting our access to higher states of awareness, and conditioning us to believe that our power lies outside of ourselves. Consider the narratives that are perpetuated through education, through the media, and through political systems, all of them subtly programming our minds to accept the limited version of ourselves and the limitations of our experience, and to keep us locked in a cycle of dependency and conformity. This understanding sheds light on the subtle ways that power structures operate to maintain our collective state of forgetfulness. This means that the very systems that we consider to be permanent are nothing more than a fragile house of cards built upon this shared state of amnesia. By remembering our true nature, we begin to dismantle these very systems and reclaim the collective power that has been forgotten. This individual journey isn't just personal, it's a step towards the collective transformation of our shared experience. It is the first step toward creating a reality that is rooted in love, compassion, and unity, and that is free from the shackles of control and limitations that have held us back for so long. Your personal journey has a monumental impact on the entire human experience, and that the more of us that remember our power, the quicker we will create a better world for us all. Individual remembering is the key to collective awakening, and your journey is not only your own, but an essential component in the evolution of our entire species. The act of claiming your power not only impacts your own life, but it sends ripples outward to touch the lives of all those around you, and to awaken the collective consciousness, and to inspire everyone else to embark on a journey of self-discovery. It is a monumental responsibility and an incredible opportunity, and each and every one of you is an essential part of this transformation. Your journey is the journey of all, and your awakening is the awakening of humanity. All the questions posed throughout this journey have now been answered. The mysteries have been unveiled, the connections have been made, and the path to understanding has been fully illuminated. It's now time to put all the pieces together and see the full picture of what we have explored. We have journeyed from the individual to the collective, from limitation to empowerment, and from forgetting to remembering. And we have unveiled the true nature of reality in all of its complexity and beauty. This is the moment where all things come together, and it's important that you take a moment to integrate the profound implications of this exploration. The puzzle is complete, and it's time to celebrate the knowledge that you now carry. Let's summarize the patterns established throughout this video: the cyclical nature of remembering, the illusion of time, the dream metaphor, and the concept of societal forgetfulness, all of which have converged to give you a comprehensive understanding of the reality in which we find ourselves and the power that we hold to change it. Every idea has been a stepping stone on the path towards the culmination, and all of these patterns are interconnected, and all of these concepts fit together to provide you with the knowledge you require in order to move forward with power and intention. Each concept has led to the next, and you now have the framework to make sense of your own experience and to create the future that you envision. Moving forward, integrate these practices. Mindful observation, conscious emotional regulation, gratitude and reality journaling, while challenging all limitations, embracing radical acceptance, and using paradoxical intention as you playfully engage with this remembered reality. This is not just a theoretical understanding, it is a practical guide for action, and it is essential that you make these practices a part of your daily life, and to use these tools to navigate the challenges and to manifest your most heartfelt intentions. This is a call to action, and the path forward is now clear. Finally, release any tension you may still be holding and find a space of peace, understanding and empowerment, and trust that everything is unfolding as it should be, and that this journey is not a race, but an ongoing process of growth and discovery, and to allow yourself to move forward at your own pace, and to trust that you are exactly where you need to be. This journey is a beautiful dance, and it is essential to approach it with gentleness, with compassion, and with an open heart. All is well, and all is unfolding as it should. This understanding is not the end of our journey, but simply the beginning of an infinite path of exploration, of discovery, and of continuous expansion. There are no limits to the potential that you hold, and that every new level of understanding opens up new avenues of exploration, as you begin to uncover ever deeper layers of truth, and as you expand your awareness. The path is endless, and the possibilities are infinite. This exploration of our remembered reality will undoubtedly lead to new questions and new insights, and this journey of discovery will continue to expand as we go deeper into the mysteries of our true nature, and as we begin to embrace the unlimited potential that lies within all of us. There is much more to learn, and the adventure of understanding will never truly end. But you now hold the tools that you need to continue this journey with passion, with curiosity, and with love. The process of awakening never truly ends. There are always new horizons to explore. Continue your journey with community support, seeking out additional resources, and by following this channel for future content, and by remembering that you are not alone on this path, and that there is a vast community of like-minded individuals who are walking this path along with you, and that support and guidance are always available to help you along the way. You are never truly alone. We are all connected, and we are all in this together. And so, with this understanding, it's time to embrace your power, to step into the unknown, and to explore the limitless potential of your remembered reality, to become the conscious co-creators of your experience, and to create a world that reflects your highest potential and your deepest desires. The time for passive observation is over, and the time for conscious creation has begun, and it's now up to you to embrace that potential and to shape the reality that you envision. Go forth and create the world that you know is possible, and do so with love.